Morning, guys. Happy Monday. Who am I tired? Yeah, been a long day, but got a bunch of trees planted, so we're good there. But I wanted to kind of go back on what's going on over in Europe and kind of tie that into what's feasibly going on in the Middle East and what's going on in Asia. This is how goofy this is getting, guys. All right. So y'all know where we stand on Ukraine. Nothing really seemed to happen today. The only news that came out is Putin's going to address uh, Parliament, I guess, if you will, for any uh, other way of putting it here. I think it's on the 21st of April. So that's where that one stands at the moment. Then you get yesterday, all of a sudden the power went out in Iran because one of their nuclear power plants went down, and supposedly that's sabotaged by the Israelis. Okay, so that makes that now a hot zone. And of course, we all know the China-Taiwan thing. But this is where it comes into play, where how at least China-Taiwan and Russia-Ukraine correlate. And this is what we got to worry about. This is what I was talking about a few days ago, where you get into a two-front type deal, okay, in an economic war, which I've talked about. And I'm also going to bring in the bond market to this. This is how intertwined everything gets, so you guys can understand this. Now, understand that the area in Ukraine that the Russians are claiming, but is physically in Ukraine, the United States at least sees this as this is sovereign territory. This is part of Ukraine. Therefore, Russia does not have any sort of right to it. Okay, just like, we couldn't say, oh, gee, we're going to annex Toronto because it's, relatively close to Detroit. Okay, so it doesn't work like that. Even if everybody in Toronto wanted to be U.S. citizens, it doesn't work like that. Just because you want something doesn't mean you get it. Okay, think about your Christmas list when you were a kid. All right, you didn't get everything on it. But so this is why, not the only reason, but this is the legality, the international law legality that U.S. and NATO is following. This is Ukrainian territory, therefore it is, Ukrainian sovereign rights, and Russia can't go for it. Now, in that same respect, that's China can use that completely against us, because Taiwan is not an official country, okay? So technically, it is still Chinese territory. So this is where you get into if we back Ukraine, we being the United States back Ukraine against Russia, then China comes in and says, but we're doing the same thing over here, okay? Because it's Chinese territory. Taiwan's trying to break free. They can't. We don't want that to happen. Then why can't we let Donetsk and everything like that break free from Ukraine? That we won't let happen. So, playing both sides against the middle, and China's waiting for this. So if something happens in Ukraine, China's going to use that as, if you'll use the legal term, of precedent, going, okay, so we can do this. Now, of course, that puts NATO and the U.S. in a very precarious situation. How do you handle both of them? All right. This is where it comes into effect with you and me, of course, and preppers in general. Now, I've talked ad nauseum to you guys about watching the bond rate go to 1.75. Okay, and this is where we get in trouble. 2 is chaos, and 3 is a catastrophe. China owns about $1 trillion in U.S. debt. In other words, basically, they own the treasury bonds. They have loaned us $1 trillion, bought bonds by doing it. Okay, I've told you before about the reverse correlation between bond yields and the price of bonds. China is planning on reducing their holdings in U.S. debt, okay, basically selling the debt back to the market, to about $800 billion. Okay, so you think about that, it's about a 20% drop. Right. Well, if they flood the market with that much debt that's got to be bought by somebody else, that's going to drive the price of bonds down, which, like I said, inverse relationship with yields. That drives the yields up, which now prevents the government from being able to afford to borrow more money because bond interest rates are going to go up. So this is the precarious situation that we, the Western world, get ourselves into. Because again, remember, the dollar is the preferential currency around the world. Regardless whether you're in Canada, Australia, Germany, whatever it would be, everybody kind of looks to the United States, what monetary policy is here, because that kind of dictates a lot of what goes on around the rest of the world. And at this point, China can now control it, which goes into the exact situation that I talked about yesterday morning with Turkey. All right. And I know it's like you're pulling all these pieces together, but this is what I'm trying to do. We get to a point where economics are everything. Like I said yesterday, which way does Turkey go? Do they go with the strategic alliance with Ukraine, or do they go with the economic alliance that they have that they need with Russia? Now, you get into the same situation with the U.S. China can align itself with Russia and basically create a massive superpower, weapons, personnel, just like I talked about, I think it was on a live stream, that nobody can hold a candle to, not even NATO at that point. We could just be steamrolled. But then they can also do it economically if China can liquidate all these debt holdings that they have, which could literally collapse the U.S. economy, which is what they want to do in the first place, because China's ambition is to make the yuan the international currency, not the dollar. So they need to collapse the U.S. economy. This is what we're prepping for, guys. This is why I've said, many times, me, Alaska Prepper, a couple other channels have mentioned buy silver, because this is what they're trying to do. They're trying to make the yuan the dominant currency in the world. Russia is trying to, Russia tried to establish relationships with the U.S. back when Obama was elected. Obama gave him the middle finger salute, and Putin attached his horse to China. So, thanks again, Obama. You screwed something else up. It just took after you were gone for us to have anything to do, to have any repercussions from it. And then you get Turkey. So now you start looking at Iran, North Korea, China, Turkey, Russia. Take a look at those countries in your little black book and see what happens there. This could be very devastating, guys, because the U.S., Canada, Australia, England, Germany, whatever, NATO powers, that's more than we can hang with. So pay attention to this. Like I said, the one thing we can pray is that nothing happens in Ukraine, because if Ukraine gets busy, it turns into a combat zone, that sets off a whole house of cards with the rest of the world, because as soon as that happens, I guarantee you China's going into Taiwan. And if you saw this evening the news, there was already some fighter plane incidents, nobody shot at anybody or whatever, but between the Taiwanese, the Chinese, and the U.S., they're in Taiwanese airspace. So keep an eye on it, guys. It's not looking pretty, but all we can do is cross our fingers and hope that cooler heads prevail, but it ain't happening right now. Don't see it. So, all right, that's Monday, and I'm tired. It's Sunday night for me, and I'm exhausted. Good night. Pinball out.